E te iwi tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou. Kia ora everybody, Che Wilson here from Te Pai Pai Waho, connecting to you tonight through a range of different platforms. And it's a new season, it's season 6. And I hope everybody's had a great holiday and new year, everything like that, and that you've been safe and happy. So on that note, I'll open us up and we'll have a bit of a kōrero. Mai e maranga wakarango na te rangi e tūnei, mai e maranga wakarango na te papa e tako tuake nei. Mai are are wakatupua anuku, mai are are wakatupua rangi, e au e ana ki te pau o te pai pai waho, e tūnei. Tenei te pō, nau mai te ao. Turuturu au i te wakamaua kia tīna, hui e tāiki e. Tāiki e kia tātou. Nā reire mihi ana kia tātou, I roto i tēnei tau hou, I roto oki I ngā watanga o te wā. Tērā ko ruau moko me tōna mana, e wakararuraru ana I a tonga, o tira, kia ora Laurie, o tira te moana nui ākiwa, taira wātu ki o tātou mate papangai o, ko muri wai tērā, e oa, e moe, e oki, koutou ki koutou, tātou ki tātou ngā mauetanga I o, e mii nei e tangi nei, kia ora katoa tātou. So as I said earlier, Che Wilson here, it's a new season, it's season 6, and this season I'll be talking about WAIRUATANGA, and more the practical application of WAIRUATANGA, and I'll try and use an example within my week, every week that I talk about this. I did talk about WAIRUATANGA in season 3 in 2020 and the seen and unseen, whereas now I'm going to talk about it and probably cover some of those same points, but talk about it and cover WAIRUATANGA and the practical application. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Missy, the kids and I, we had an awesome break, and my throat's still wango. And karakia, you can see another specialist on this, which is a hoha. But yeah, it's good to be back online. I've actually enjoyed having the break from being online, or being offline, and actually having a holiday, which is a rare thing. So, e mihi ana kia tātou. Let's get into the kaupapa. As I said, the whole season will be covered on WAIRUATANGA, and what I want to specifically focus in on, or try to at least, is focus in on the practical application of WAIRUATANGA and its many facets. And so what I want to talk about and acknowledge is that ruaumoko being the atua of tectonic movement, volcanoes, as well as other things, but that's another take. And when I think about ruaumoko, and what we're currently witnessing in Tonga, you have koru, nuku, koru rangi, koru papa, koru take, koru kere kere. And right now, all those facets of ru are emerging. And as they emerge, it causes a whole lot of angst for humans and a heap of change, both naturally and for us as humans. Kia ora Tamale, and Ariana. And what I want to talk about is when there's an issue, when there's a raruraru, a problem, and it's away from you, how do you send energy? How do you send karakia? And how do you know that it's going to get there? So I think that's what we'll talk about. And I'll try and look at examples each week in my life and talk about something where I may have been engaged with the practical application of WAIRUATANGA other than the day-to-day stuff. So because Tonga had the volcanic eruption and the tsunami, I'm going to talk about the karakia that was held on Sunday through a range of different platforms under the karanga of our King to send our karakia, our aroha, our love, our energy, all the good vibrations to our whānau in Tonga. And the best way to do that is to hold a karakia. And we happen to hold one online, but it doesn't need to be online. And that karakia is both to send energy to them as well as to help calm and settle us with all of the worry of not being able to connect through telecommunications and all of that, struggling at the moment to get to Tonga. So by sending karakia, that's another way of doing it. How do you run your karakia? Well, some will say that there's a way of doing an ecumenical service, whereas I'm of the opinion you send your energy, you send your thought, you send your karakia, your whakaaro, and as you do that, you're sending the energy and vibration around the intent that you're trying to focus in on. And so the intent was to send all of that stuff, all of that good stuff to Tonga. And irrespective of what the karakia is, you might only know one karakia, but when you use your intent and the words of the karakia that you know, that's doing both. And I've often been asked, what if I don't have a karakia for that certain thing? I always say, and I've said this heaps on here, focus in on your intention. And even if, in my case, I was raised a Catholic, so even if you didn't know a karakia to bless your taonga, then do a Hail Mary and send the intention to clear any issues around the taonga and to inject a whole heap of love into the taonga. And so it's the same case in us sending our energy to Tonga. And the way it was structured, we did the hāhi Māori first, the pai Māori there, the rātana and the ringatu, and then we went to the other hāhi. And even though those other hāhi may have been established a few centuries before at least rātana and ringatu, we went with the Māori ones first just to acknowledge our whenua and where we come from, as we then embrace the other hāhi that connected that night. Mindful also that you can't always include everybody, but what you can do, the word for intention is whakaaro. And though whakaaro is often mostly translated as thought, but it's also intention. There's probably another word as well, but whakaaro is the most common word. So you do all of that and you send that intention to help our people. And I said the word both online on Sunday as well as tonight. I talked about our whānau. And I use that word deliberately because in whakapapa terms, they are our whānau, as are everybody else in Te Moana Nui Ākiwa. And some may be more distant than others, but that's just because we would have to work a bit more to try and connect our languages again. But in the case of Tonga Samoa, and then even more so, Rarotonga, Aitutaki, Tahiti, Hawaii, Rapa Nui, etc., is a closer connection. But I said whānau because that's also part of the intention, is including Tonga as our whānau. Whether it was Tonga or someone else, but that's the focus, is how do we include those key principles that make us us, as well as linking all of that love and energy to them. Question is, do we know that it gets there? Hell yes. And that's all about belief. It's all about belief and your worldview and how your worldview shapes what you send. How you shape te iarere, that iarere, as you send it, that energy, to help whatever you're wanting to help, or to instill positivity into whatever you're trying to instill that positivity into. And so what I do know is that we probably spoke a bit too much Māori for our cousins to understand it at a really logic brain sense. But our wairua, hopefully they would have felt it. And in feeling it, then going, yep, I'll have some of that. Thank you very much. So that's one way of practically sending energy. And that's by doing verbal karakia. And deliberately said verbal karakia because you don't need to do karakia just by mouth. You can send it through whakaaro and intention. You can do karakia in action. Classic example is when I'm on the river. First thing I do when I get onto the river is I'll wash my face and I'll sprinkle myself, because what I'm saying to my karakia to the river is, I am you, you are me, we are one. And in doing that, I'm telling the river to take me to the next destination. And I suppose on that point, as I think about what I've just articulated, is the difference between a te ao Māori and a te ao Karaitiana is that in te ao Māori, you are invoking the atua within you so that it can then talk to the atua in the natural world, i.e. the river. And and when we do that, that then takes us to a place where we are then able to feel, sense, hear, see all of the different aspects that are connected to your karakia. So I covered those three different types of karakia, and the rest of this season, however long it's going to go, season 6, the first month of 2022, I'll be covering WAIRUATANGA and the practical application. And though, as I said earlier, I covered 5 sessions or 5 episodes in season 3, this is all about practical application. Kati, that's enough for tonight. What I would like to say is try practicing sending a karakia to someone you love who's not there with you. And I see whānau from Surface and Sydney and other places. You're not here. We can't connect to you at the moment. But try sending some love through a karakia to somebody you love. And whatever the karakia is, irrespective of what hahi, whether it's a Christian karakia, a Māori karakia tawhito, or Buddhist, whatever karakia it is, give it a go. Give it a go, and hopefully you'll find some fruit from that in your puku, which then warms up the rest of your body. Ka tiake, e mi ana kia tātou, i roto i tēnei pō, kia wakaere ki ngā kupu, ki te tā uu nui, o rangi nui e tūnei, aumia ui e, tāi ki e. Kia ora tātou, stay safe, stay warm, and yeah, as you can see, it's pretty hot in Kirikiriroa. Kia ora tātou.